Hey, I'm Noah.
Yeah, I'm Adam, but we don't have time for names because we don't have very much time to do this review, but we need to get out like 4 more books, so let's talk about this right here. What are we reviewing today?
2 books, Legion of Superheroes and Green Lantern Corps.
Hooray, what are we going to be talking about first?
Legion of Superheroes.
Alright, sure, why not? This is the Legion of Superheroes. Background, they're superheroes, they fight crime in the 31st century with the United Planets, like United Nations, only their planets. And what's this individual book about?
Okay, so these 2 new members, and they're on their first mission, and they are trying to get their intelligence on a thing for the planet order, the other planets.
Because they're violating a treaty on some planet doing something.
Yep.
And meanwhile, there are like 5 other plots going on. It's a bit difficult to follow because
there's so many people, so many new... And we're being introduced to 15 characters at once who are all part of the Legion.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are doing different things, but it is mainly about these 2 new people. It's kind of like Stormwatch in that respect, except the characters aren't that interesting. I'm getting into the review part now, so just summary, but we don't have time to do it, so I'm just blending it all together.
We have time to summarize, it's just that there's not very much to summarize because there are a lot of plot elements, but it's not... I think that it's more we're jumping around from character to character, so we're getting to be... yeah, we're not really being introduced to a single coherent story. The main idea that we're focusing on is these folks trying to collect intelligence on this alien planet. I say alien planet, they're all aliens, but on a particular planet. But at the same time, both on that planet, in the mission, we're jumping around from character to character such that the plot doesn't really develop much. And then we have people at HQ, but they're mostly just discussing things that are creating the circumstances here and that have happened before. Also, it's a bit confusing because a lot of this ties in directly with Legion Lost, another Legion of Superheroes comic,
which comes out next week.
Came out a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I thought it came out.
No, it came out I think either last week or the week before.
Doesn't matter.
Deals with a few members of the Legion of Superheroes trapped in the 21st century, and there's a lot of reference to backstory, but it's not really in a way that's thoroughly integrated into the plot. So we're more jumping around from character to character, getting little snippets of things. You said it reminded you of Stormwatch?
Yeah, and that we're being introduced to a whole lot of new characters. They're all kind of doing their own thing, and they're all part of one team, so we're jumping around a lot, but it's all kind of related to each other, and it gets very confusing. But with Stormwatch, the characters were interesting. It kept you engaged, even though it was a bit hard to follow. With this, it's boring. Not interesting.
The thing with Stormwatch is that it was confusing, but I could still follow Stormwatch. With Stormwatch, we were jumping from character to character, but every time we did, we saw the character doing something.
And they were in a group, so...
Yeah, they were in a group, but we would even jump from... We would see either a group of characters together or characters in certain places. They were either doing something that demonstrated what their character was. Not either. They were definitely doing something that demonstrated what their character was and giving us some exposition and showing us their traits. While at the same time furthering the plot, it was just confusing since we had so many people and jumped from person to person so much that the plot was kind of hard to piece together. With this, rather than being introduced to, let's say, 5 or 6 different main characters...
There are 15.
There are 15, and most of them are not given much prominence over the others. I mean, we have...
A lot of the characters don't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, we have 3 characters on the cover. As far as I can tell, choosing these as the cover characters, choosing these as the cover characters was almost arbitrary, because while we do focus on a few characters a little bit longer, none of them is actually carrying the story. What we end up getting into then is, and they're not even introduced as part of the story, it's just every time a new character appears,
we'll get a little text box.
Yeah, we'll get a caption box that shows... Do you want to hold this? That shows their name and what they do. And I thought to myself on the first page, well, I mean, where are we? Yeah, so you can see like that, that right there is an example of that.
Last week.
Yeah, last week. That's an example of that. And we get these text boxes saying what a person's name is, what their power is, and what their homeworld is. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, that's convenient, that makes sense. I like that idea. But there's a new one every couple of pages, and they're in groups, and oftentimes they'll not be referred to by name, even though we see their names. They'll not use any of the superpowers that we're told that they have.
They're not clearly defined. They're not really given a character or personality where we can even...
I wouldn't say it's not that they're given a character or personality, but that there's so many
time to develop them.
Yeah, there's so many people that there's not enough time to actually see who each character is. So all that we really have to go with is the main plot idea, independent of who these characters necessarily are. But even that is kind of... we're not just following one set of action. They've landed on this planet and they're trying to collect information, which, I mean, that works. That were the only thing we were following with just these 5 people. that I could follow, but then we jump around to
HQ,
and we have conversations, but they're conversations about things that have already happened, and I would say that they're bringing the readers up to speed, but it's all just really cut together
and
in a way.
It's not done well at all.
Well, that goes without saying. So,
Art.
Art, yes.
Art, yes.
It has pictures in it.
It does have pictures. Very colorful.
Very colorful.
Like, you could show them the first page.
I think the first page, which I showed, is a good example, because we're dealing with
aliens.
Deep future, aliens, outer space. We get the really colorful sort of fantasy space opera world that DC has in the 31st century. To be honest, I don't really like 31st century stuff in DC, but that's just me. Anything that takes place in the future.
It's art, really. It's colorful, it's vibrant.
It's art, yeah.
But it is hard to follow because there's so much going on. It's not...
Yeah.
And just like the characters aren't really clearly defined, the lines are... It gets kind of blurry.
Yeah, I think it's almost the opposite of that. I just think I talk often about things being cluttered, but I think this comic is almost the best example of that because because it's an alien world and we have so much scenery and so much background and so much tech in the back and so many characters on screen at once. I think everything gets kind of mixed together and blended together, such that not blended but dumped on top of each other. That we've got like people's clothes here, and we've got plant life, and we've got the spaceship and people, and it's just, if you look at it, you can tell what's what, but when you're following from panel to panel, I think that it doesn't carry the motion very well because there are so many things that you could focus on, and individual actions and characters very rarely take the main focus and can be shown to transition smoothly from one panel to another. So in that sense, I think the art is kind of like the story, just really cluttered, bunched up together, and piled on top of each other.
And not very good.
Well, not very good. On a letter scale, where would you put this?
D-.
Yeah, I would also give it a D-.
It's not very good. There's too much going on. Nothing's really given any weight.
Yeah, I admitted that I'm not really a fan of this team or just these characters. Not just these characters, but just this entire setting. But even if I were, I doubt that I would really like this comic very much. So yeah, and I'm probably not going to... I didn't even really want to buy this. I'm probably not going to be buying anything further in the title. And I'm probably also not going to be checking out Legion Lost.
Okay, so next comic?
Yeah, what else do we have?
We have Green Lantern Corps.
Green Lantern Corps, and also...
These two are in it. These other ones not so much.
Yeah, no Kilowog, no Kat Matsui, no anyone, but we do have...
We do have the Rock God, but he's only in like the third to last page.
We've got John Stewart and Guy Gardner, so that is that works. But I think I could summarize the plot of this very well because I think it's a very precise summary. There's someone going around killing Green Lanterns all throughout outer space, and meanwhile Guy Gardner and John Stewart just can't fit in their day-to-day lives. So they have to set out in search of adventure.
Space opera buddy cop.
Yeah, I'd like to say that space operas tend to also embody other genres. Here, if anything, I'd say it feels a lot like a buddy cop movie, just in the relationship between Guy Gardner and John Stewart. It's not clear if that is going to be carrying off. If they were just like two rogue or two individual guys who they're tired of their day-to-day lives and they're just going out throughout the universe getting into adventures, that would be interesting. But this is also very interesting. It seems like they're going to be sort of almost leading a scene of Green Lanterns to fight some sort of... It's not clear who this enemy is, but it's clear that it's a very powerful, very dangerous, and very murderous enemy.
Yep.
So we're seeing... we're going to be seeing sort of a big Green Lantern Corps-wide conflict that I think we're easing into very nicely. Your thoughts on the story?
I liked it. A lot of it is these two characters, Guy Gardner and John Stewart. You first get introduced to Gardner, who's he's looking for a job as a gym teacher at a school, and
I think he wants to be the team coach.
Yeah, the principal is like, "Oh, but you're Green Lantern, you're not going to have time." But he's really struggling with balancing his Green Lantern life and his civilian life. And John Stewart...
Likewise, John Stewart is an architect now, apparently.
Well, John Stewart wants to really help improve the world with his powers, and wants to have this influence. And he still was in the Navy. They bring that up, his Navy background.
He's a Marine.
Marine, whatever.
He wants to make the world safer for people and the world a better place.
But capitalism gets in the way.
Even in his civilian life, but it turns out that the bureaucracy is not behind him. So what you gonna do? fight aliens.
Mm-hmm.
But I think not getting more into the specifics of the plot, because I think it's just you don't need to know all the details to pretty much get the general gist of this. And to be honest, I think that's almost the most interesting part.
And it is very character based.
It's very character driven. I think that we have a good balance between we see some more less developed Green Lanterns when we're talking about or when we're looking at Green Lanterns getting killed and all this stuff. It's not a major part of the story, but we do see these scenes that's kind of intercut into the personal lives and struggles of John Stewart and Guy Gardner. I think characterization works really well. I mean, we get the sense that, again, John Stewart, very serious, committed, Marine-type personality guy. Guy Gardner, he's more of a cowboy.
Yeah, he's kind of having more fun with it, I think. He's like, yeah, I'm a superhero, isn't this pretty cool? But he still wants to have a normal life, and that gets in the way.
Yeah, because it's also, I mean, they're Green Lanterns in their sectors. They're number 2 and 3, respectively, so they're not even the main Green Lantern. Because the main Green Lantern in this sector is now Sinestro!
Yep, and unlike Hal Jordan or Kyle Rayner used to do, these guys don't wear masks. So we're seeing that with Guy Gardner. He's being interviewed by all these people who want to know what it's like being a Green Lantern, and then John Stewart is trying to improve the world as the Green Lantern. But even though he has all these powers, people still don't listen to him because of the bureaucracy and capitalism and all that.
I don't think we need to summarize the entire story because that's
not really, but I think that would be an important detail. That people know that these people are the Green Lanterns. They don't have a secret identity.
Yeah. I mean, and it's just they don't wear masks is what's the main point to it, and that's a plot point too. But overall, I think that the transitions between the outer space Green Lanterns being murdered off and the personal struggles of these characters, I think it's interspliced very well. And it's odd that when we get into the space opera, like the really fantastic outer space adventures, as opposed to, let's say, Superman or Batman, who lives in the city and is all just very urban and very down to earth, with these, even though we're in this much more fantastic setting, I think that this comic is really hitting more on just day-to-day life of these characters. Not necessarily something that we can relate to in terms of being a superhero, but it's got a really strong personal element to it, but it's also really setting up the sense of adventure. Also, there's a lot of body parts being cut in half.
Yeah.
So visually, do we want to say anything about this?
Well, the Green Lantern Corps is appropriately green.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of green in this.
A lot of spacey green lighting in outer space.
Yeah, a lot of very bright alien tones. On Earth, things are more normally colored, but of course, because like you'll see, Guy Gardner uses his powers just in the open. It gives everything a nice shiny green tint.
Yeah.
And speaking of shiny, you can see here, basically everything Green Lantern related has this kind of plasticky sheen on it, but it fits because they are kind of glowing with energy types.
That's Oa.
Yeah, which is the Green Planet, Green Lantern kind of home planet. It's their home base, I guess. Yeah.
It's interesting because, I mean, even though we have this really serious storyline, and this is just kind of breaking off point of the art, but even though we have this really serious storyline, it's still kind of fun because especially Guy Gardner, I think, has this kind of fun personality to him. And these are characters with very strong personalities, such that everything I like about this book, and not that Green Lantern 1 wasn't great, I loved it, but that's much more specifically a Hal Jordan story. I think this is more of a Green Lantern story, just kind of exploring the possibilities of the ring and what it could mean to different people, and also involving the entire Corps. I think that everything I see in this makes me realize just how much I found the Green Lantern movie this summer to be disappointing. But, yeah, in terms of art, I think that we have, again, this really, can I just show this page? Because I think it's
kind of, is it a spoiler, do you think?
It's not really spoilery because, I mean, that's actually almost identical to the cover, though, only much more accurate. But I think the cover's a really good representation of the sort of thing that we get. When you're in these sort of really, I'm not going to say unnatural, but really sort of technological alien settings and all that, you have the unnatural colors, you have the sheen, you have the light and all that. I think that the naturalistic view of the day-to-day world, much like the other Green Lantern story that we reviewed,
there's a good contrast between them?
There's a good contrast, but they blend smoothly, especially when elements of that are incorporated into each other. So, overall,
very smooth art.
Yeah, very smooth art, and the story, I think, really intriguing characters, interesting ideas with these characters, and it's definitely going somewhere. Yeah, and it's building up really well. So
I'd recommend it. Letter score?
Letter score. Where would you put it?
B.
I'm just giving it an A because I cannot really find any strong criticisms that I have with this, and I really enjoyed it.
Maybe B+. Yeah.
So yeah, actually, my biggest criticism is just the cover because it has characters on it who
Yeah.
aren't in the book, and
And
these are popular characters. So
Mhm.
someone could pick it up and be like, "Hey, I want to read about Kilowog," and Kilowog's not in it. But so yeah, that I would say is kind of false advertising. But beyond that, I don't have any complaints.
Yeah.
And although we might not be able to get it up today, what is our
the last
next
two
book?
comics that we are reviewing this week are Batgirl and Superboy.
Nightwing
Nightwing.
and Supergirl.
Fuck, I got it backwards. Damn it.
Nightwing and Supergirl.
Yeah, Nightwing and
And-
Supergirl.
Yes, and then I believe on. Well, we'll leave that for
Yeah.
the next review.
Sorry for rushing, guys.
I actually think this is a great length for our video.